Okay, let's talk about something that makes a huge difference to your style, your comfort, and even your health. But we almost never think about it. I'm talking about taking proper care of your shoes. So, let's dive in.
Go on, take a quick look down at what you're wearing right now. What do you see? Are they looking sharp, a little scuffed, a bit dirty? You know, your shoes can say a lot about you before you even open your mouth. We gotta make sure they're telling the story we want them to.
And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? This isn't just about looking good. It's about feeling good. It's about hygiene. It's about comfort. And honestly, taking care of your shoes is a pretty fundamental form of self-care.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to start with the workhorses of our wardrobes, the shoes most of us are wearing day in and day out.
This sneaker, our go-to for just about everything, right? But the question is, how do you keep them looking like they just came out of the box, instead of, well, like you've run a marathon in them? It's actually way easier than you'd think. It just comes down to a few simple habits.
So most of us do step 1 and 3, right? We knock the dirt off the bottom and give the top a wipe. But the real game changer here is step 2, actually taking out the insole. It's the one thing most people skip, but it is so crucial. It lets you get rid of all that hidden grime and, more importantly, it lets the entire shoe breathe and dry from the inside out. That is the secret to stopping bad smells. And always, always let them air dry completely away from a heater or anything like that.
Okay, next up, the classic flat. Now with flats, the biggest challenge isn't really what's on the outside, it's what's happening on the inside. Since we often wear them without socks, making sure they dry out properly is absolutely everything if you want to keep them fresh.
And that brings me to the golden rule for flats. And honestly, for most shoes, try not to wear the same pair 2 days in a row. Giving them a full 24-hour break does 2 amazing things. 1, it stops odor before it even has a chance to start. And 2, it lets the shoe structure kind of relax and bounce back, which helps it keep its shape longer. Seriously, rotation is your best friend.
The routine here is super simple. You give them a quick wipe down, sure, but again, if that insole comes out, take it out. It just takes a second, but it lets so much more air circulate inside and guarantees your flats are totally dry and ready for their next wear.
Let's move on to the official footwear of summer. Sandals are great, but they have their own unique challenge because, well, your foot is right there on the shoe.
You can worry about the straps later. The footbed, that's where all the action is. It's absorbing everything from sweat to dirt to oils from your skin. So giving that part of the sandal regular, focused attention is what's going to keep them from getting gross.
So, yeah, start by really focusing your energy on scrubbing that footbed. Once that's clean, a quick wipe for the rest of the sandal is usually enough. And hey, pay attention to step 4. If you've got leather sandals, taking a minute to polish them after they're clean and dry really brings the material back to life and keeps them from looking worn out.
Speaking of leather, let's talk about these shoes for what they are, a real investment. When you take care of a quality pair of leather shoes, they can literally last you for decades.
You know, the 2 biggest enemies of leather are dryness, which is what leads to those awful cracks, and just dullness, which makes them look old and tired. The great news is both of these are totally preventable with a simple routine.
Think of this as your 3-step mantra for leather. First, a gentle clean with a soft cloth gets rid of any surface grit that could scratch the finish. Second, and this is the most important part, is conditioning. Think of it as moisturizer for your shoes. It feeds the leather, keeps it flexible, and stops it from crapping. And finally, a good polish. That adds a protective layer and gives you that incredible shine.
Okay, if you only remember 2 things about leather care, make it these. Using a conditioner is non-negotiable. It's a must. But just as important is what you don't do. Never, ever leave them to dry in direct, hot sunlight. The intense heat will literally cook the natural oils right out of the leather, leaving it brittle and just waiting to crack. Always let them air dry somewhere cool and shady.
So we've looked at a few specific types of shoes, but what are the big principles that apply to your entire collection? Let's wrap things up with the golden rules.
Let's just boil everything down to these 5 truths. First, rotate your shoes. I know we've said it before, but that's because it's so important for every single pair you own. Second, get to stains right away. Don't let them set. Third, never put your shoes away if they're even a little bit damp. That's just asking for mold and smells. Which leads to the next point, store them in a dry place, not a damp closet. And finally, if you do use the sun for drying, just make sure it's gentle, mild sunlight, not a scorching afternoon.
So, after all that, here's the real question. You don't have to do everything all at once, but what is the one small habit you can start today? Maybe it's just deciding to rotate the shoes you wear to work, or maybe you'll finally go and condition those leather boots that have been sitting in your closet. Just start with one thing, and you'll see what a difference it makes.